I'm Vicky Allpress-Hill, Director of the Audience Connection and Curator of the series. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all today to the webinar, Search Engine Marketing Demystified, and to introduce you to our guest presenter, Tom Butlin from Houdini Search Marketing. We know that more than 80% of New Zealanders search online before buying a product or service. Search is an indicator of interest and intent. But searchers, as we know, are becoming more demanding and expecting results more tailored to them. Search marketing, or SEM, is an important online marketing channel for us, but we know that many New Zealand arts marketers and managers are grappling with how to use this and how to make the most of it. We need a demystifier, and fortunately Tom is one, and he's with us today. Tom has been in online marketing since the year 2000. And after 6 years as a senior search analyst for a search engine marketing agency, Tom created Houdini Search Marketing in 2014. He's managed SEM campaigns for several non-profit organisations, so he's well placed to advise us today. His webinar, Search Engine Optimisation and Marketing, was part of our series in 2014, so we're really thrilled to welcome him back. So just housekeeping, today's webinar will last for an hour, and there will be opportunities for you to ask questions or make comments during and at the end of the session using the chat box in the bottom left corner of your screen. Both the recording of this session and Tom's PowerPoint presentation will be made available on Creative New Zealand's YouTube channel after the session. So over to you, Tom.
Great, thank you very much, Vicky, and welcome everybody. So as Vicky said, I've been involved in online marketing for quite some time, I think 18 years now. I can still remember the first time I used Google Adwords, and I was quite amazed that we put money in and we got traffic out. And that seemed to be quite unusual at the time to actually have specific and measurable results. So what I'm really here to talk to you about today is how to do AdWords better. I'm going to assume that most of you either have used AdWords or you have investigated AdWords. So I'm not really going to talk to you about how to set it up. It's more about how to optimize to make it better and how to find out where you are wasting your money, because you almost certainly will be wasting money. There's an expression from John Wanamaker that half of my advertising is wasted. I just don't know which half. And a big part of what we do with AdWords is working out which of your advertising dollars are wasted and try and address those. Okay, here we go. I work as an agency, so I look after approximately 30 AdWords accounts for various companies, and the spend there is anything from $100 a month to $100,000 a month on AdWords. So I have a pretty big range. I've done a lot of work with Auckland Council for the Auckland Live project and also Auckland Conventions. I do a lot of work in the education industry for Unitech and also Northtech and several other education providers. I've worked with not-for-profits, including Outward Bound, and so yeah, I think I've got a reasonably good handle on the challenges that not-for-profits face. If any of you have Google Grants or Google not-for-profits, the same rules that we talk about today will apply. Just because Google has given you some free money to spend on your advertising does not mean that you should waste it. So if you are in the situation where you do have a Google Grants or Google not-for-profit account available to you, please attempt to improve the quality of what you're doing as much as you can, and don't just think that it's free money and you can spend it on anything that looks vaguely related to your organization. So that's just a little tip there. With a bit of an example today, I'm just going to look at Art Prints Auckland. So it's an arts-related search, and although it's not related to most of your organizations, I think it shows really how Google operates. As you know, Google is a search engine. I don't think that's news to anyone. Google started off with organic results, and it has now changed to have incredibly diverse results using approximately 26 different entities to populate the page, AdWords is one of those 26 entities. So you could be number one on Google, and congratulations, you are invisible. This is a screenshot of a very large monitor, and the number one organic result on Google is invisible. You have to scroll quite a long way to find it. So if you're number 2 or number 7 and you want to battle to become number 1, it's going to be an incredibly hard task for you to get visible. And even if you are number 1, you are still going to receive only a fraction of the search traffic for people who are looking for art prints Auckland. Now Google, in this case, has shown a number of entities. And as I said, there are 26 things they could show. They could show extracts from Wikipedia, they can show shopping, recipes, and that amount of information will only increase. So you're not only competing with your real competitors, you are competing with other, often unrelated entities. So over here we have a 4-pack of ads, and there may be 1, 2, 3, or 4 ads at the top of the page. Sometimes there will be 0 ads. Even though you are bidding, Google will not always show you at the top of the page. Over here, for this particular search, which is a commercially related search, Google has chosen to show Google Shopping. Now, Google Shopping is part of the Google ecosystem, but we are not going to go over it today. Over here, we have Google Maps, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Google Maps is currently free, sort of, mostly. And Google is in the process of making that pay for play. So if you have a Google Maps listing that's coming up very nicely on the search results page, that is great news. Make the most of it, because more and more you will find that you actually need to pay to be visible for some searches, particularly if you're in a large metropolitan area and you are promoting something that has a huge number of competitors. If you're in a small provincial town or you are operating a very tight niche, you will probably have plenty of visibility. Okay, so what we're going to go over today, starting off, an introduction to the auction system. If you think of AdWords as being an auction for real estate, you're not that far off. And so we'll just sort of cover what differs to the auction system that you would think about if you're buying real estate. The key difference there is quality score. And if you have seen quality score, you know it's quite a complex little beast. So we'll break that down and look at how you can change various bits and pieces to improve your quality score and just how important that is. Then covering some advice on structuring your AdWords around your offering and what you do and what people want. So that will vary very much depending on your organization. We then go to copywriting, keywords. For those of you who have Google Analytics, we will look very briefly at some of the ways you can maximize that data to make your AdWords more effective. And then at the end, hopefully we'll have time for that. We'll talk a little bit about ad extensions and how important those are for you. So AdWords, it started off as ads on the right-hand side of the page, and those ads disappeared quite a long time ago. So now you have ads at the top and or bottom of the page. So Google will sometimes show up to 7 ads on a page, and other times it will show 0 ads on a page. Even though you might be trying to get your ad on there and you're bidding, you will not necessarily be put there. Google will choose which ads and whether or not it shows ads based on the commercial intent of the search and also the location, the device, the user's history, etc. So a couple of people searching for the same phrase will actually see different search results pages depending on their device and where and when and what they've been searching for previously. I had one example for a client who was trying to bid for a particular phrase, and they were prepared to pay $10 a click. It was a very, very lucrative commercial phrase, and Google would not show their ad. And in fact, it showed 0 ads on that particular search result, simply because it deemed that none of them were sufficiently high quality, and it would rather have the existing organic results show. So that was quite a mind-altering little discovery when the client and I were really struggling to get visible for that particular and incredibly important search phrase. So we will cover that in a little later on when we talk about the quality score, but if you are in a situation where your ad isn't appearing and you really desperately need to be appearing for that phrase, what would you do about it? So firstly, the AdWords ecosystem is made up of AdWords and AdWords Express. If you are using AdWords Express, you may either want to change to AdWords or just keep using AdWords Express. I don't use Express mainly because it's a simple system and it doesn't have the features that I need as a professional. So if you have the choice, if you're starting up, I would suggest that you go for AdWords and not AdWords Express. Within AdWords, there are 5 main entities: the traditional search, and as a subset of search, you have search partners. Google will not really tell you who the search partners are, but it is possible to work out that the 2 main ones in New Zealand are TradeMe and Seek. If you're operating overseas, you will find that your ad is shown on eBay and Craigslist and other directory or structured search sites. Well, not really search sites, but sites that use structured information, and TradeMe is the classic one there. Another large part of AdWords, which we aren't going to cover today in specific details, but that is known as the Google Display Network, and it's a network of over 2 million websites that place advertising on them. So rather, you can place advertising via Google onto sites like New Zealand Herald. Other sites in New Zealand are Stuff, Net Service, Whale Oil. Your ads could be shown on the BBC, they could be shown on Al Jazeera, they can be shown on all sorts of desirable and undesirable websites, and it's up to you to work out which ones you want. So do be aware, I've had that for various not-for-profit or education organisations where people have contacted us with a screenshot of their ad on whale oil, for instance, and expressed dismay that that happened. So if you're using the display network, you just need to take some care to work out where your ads are showing. The most important thing to note, if you do use display or you do find that your ads are showing on display, is they will appear on in-app and in-game placements. And that can be incredibly low quality. So just be very, very aware of that. I'll just give you an example. When I was running a large display campaign for Unitech, we were getting 135 conversions a month, and that was pretty steady, and we were pretty happy with that. And then it dropped to 4 conversions in 1 month. So we were spending exactly the same amount of money, showing the ads exactly the same number of times, but our conversions dropped from 135 to 4, which caused a fair amount of consternation. And what that was is that Google at that time had allowed the ads to be shown on apps and games without us realizing. So it was a bit of a disaster there for a short while. And when I looked at the games and the apps that it was showing on, the majority of them were apps that I recognized that my 3-year-old son was playing with about that time. And if you've ever watched a 3-year-old using a tablet, it's quite a distressing thing if you're an advertiser and you happen to be paying for those ads. There are windows popping up everywhere and ads are clicked like crazy. So it was very apparent that there was absolutely no value in that. So we removed apps and games from our display footprint, and instantly our conversions went back to normal. So that was a lesson. The third of the components of the AdWords ecosystem is called Search with Display Select. Now, unfortunately, that is the default if you're creating a new campaign. So you may find that you have Search with Display Select running. So I'll just come back to that in a second. The fourth element is YouTube, so you can place ads. If you have a video, you might have an instructional video, how-to video, even a TV commercial. Those can be worked very, very well running as pre-roll video ads, you know, the ones that say skip this video in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Also related content ads that run down the right. So when someone is looking at how do I improve my singing, you could choose to have one of your ads, or sorry, one of your videos for your tutorial running at that point. Google Shopping we won't cover today, but that's the other part of the ecosystem. So if you have Google search partners, they can be incredibly effective and they can also be terrible. So what Google does is it allows you to turn partners on or remove them. You can't specifically target the search partners, and it makes it a little bit hard to actually see the data. And you will find there's quite a lot of difference between the performance of your ads on Trade Me versus the performance of your ads on Google search. So my recommendation there is go and have a look at your search campaigns and segment by network. So you see the segment button, segment by network, and all of a sudden you'll see that your search campaigns are small and beautifully formed and your search partners are large and you might have very low clicks, but they can still be very effective. So go and have a look and you'll see all sorts of things there. My recommendation, if you have search with display select, and do go and have a look at the settings, I don't use search with display select. What it's doing there is it's a combination of search and display, and I would liken that to a person who wants to be a marathon runner and an Olympic weightlifter. You probably can't do the two of those things together. So if you want those things, I would do search campaigns and I would do separate display campaigns. Don't combine the two. You just have too many opposing settings and opposing little optimization rules. So do change that one from search with display select to search, and then set up a separate display campaign if that's what you want. Now, the main reason I use display is very good at raising awareness. So the top end of the funnel, if you want to show your ad to a huge number of people, or you have a banner, or you have someone who can make a banner for you, it's a very good way of raising awareness, whereas search is more about the people who specifically want something. They want it here and now. So I find if I need to raise awareness, search is not necessarily the best tool for that. Now, quality score is probably the most important part of the whole ecosystem for you to understand. In one sentence, it is showing that ads are ranked by bid times relevance, and both of those need to be good. If your bids are too low, your ads won't show. If your bids are high but your ad is irrelevant, it won't show. It's not just a binary thing, so saying that your ads will or won't show. It's how much you pay and where your ads actually show on the page. Now, WordStream have a wonderful graphic that really sums it up quite nicely here. So it's showing in the second column the bids there. So advertiser 1 is bidding $2, advertiser 2 is bidding $4, and so on, which is not really a logical situation, but bear with us here. So at the end of the day, what you are paying for is determined by how much you're bidding and your quality score. So you can see advertiser 1 has a quality score of 10. That means they're the top ad. And if you look at the actual CPC on the right, you'll see they actually pay the least amount to be the top ad. So that's where the AdWords auction can differ from a traditional house auction, where if you pay the most money, you buy a new house. So you need to be bidding high or bidding appropriately, but most importantly, your quality score is so important as a lever in the middle. So if I was advertiser 3, for instance, I'm bidding $6 because I really want to be shown for this particular search phrase. My quality score is absolutely terrible. That's 2. That means I'm paying $4 to be the third ad. So if advertiser 3 was able to double their quality score, which shouldn't be that hard to do, instantly they would actually become the number 1 ad. And if you look at the little ad rank column there, their ad rank is 12, which is the bid times the quality score. So $6 times 2, ad rank of 12. So if they were able to improve their quality score to 4, then it would be 6 times 4. Their ad rank would be 24, so they would be elevated from the third ad to the top ad. Now, the amount they pay, it's a very complicated formula, but they would probably also find that instead of paying $4.01 per click, they'd be paying around about $3.01 per click. So they pay less, they are better placements. They go from the third ad to the first ad, which means they'll get a huge amount extra clicks. So quality score improves your ad position, which gets you more clicks, and it reduces your cost. It's absolutely essential. So the quality score is actually arranged at the keyword level. So you might have 10 keywords, and they might range in quality score from 1 to 10. And there will be a pretty strong relationship between the quality score and how often your ad is shown. So if you have keywords that you think are really, really important, they are your absolute key, and they have a quality score of 1, then that's a strong indicator that you need to go and do some work on your account. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to just pop them into the public chat box, and I will just keep an eye on them and either address them as we go, or it may be something that will come up later. But we'll also have a bit of a Q&A at the end, or I'm more than happy to discuss anything offline if anyone wants to drop me an email. But please do go and have a look at the quality score on your keywords. So this is strangely is actually something that's a little bit hidden by Google, and they are doing a better job at making it more visible and also making the components of quality score more visible, because it's very important for you to work out why you have a quality score of 2. So let's dive into that. The quality score is actually made up of your click-through rate. So the click-through rate is the number of clicks divided by the number of impressions. So it's like a hangover, really. You need to have a high click-through rate, and you need to keep it high. And once it gets high, life actually gets easier. So you need to get it high, keep it high, and the longer it stays high, the easier life becomes. So it's a very, very good virtuous circle. The second part of it, and if you think about it like a stool, any one leg of the stool is as important as the other. So if the stool, if one of the legs falls off your stool, it will collapse. Not necessarily fatally, but you need to obviously keep your click-through rate high. You need also to ensure that the keyword is relevant to its ad group. So there's a couple of things to look at there. One, is the keyword relevant? And secondly, is it relevant to that ad group? Sometimes I find that when people start doing their own AdWords, they may throw all of their keywords into a single ad group. And that ad group may cover many, many topics. So straight away, one of the easy things you can do there is actually to segment things and say, well, I'm going to make 4 ad groups instead of 1 ad group. And each ad group is going to be grouped by a theme, and that theme will be a little more relevant. So therefore, you've got keywords that are related to that ad group, and so you now have 4 ad groups, each with a tighter set of keywords, and you'll find that will greatly help. The third component of it is the landing page quality and relevance. So if you are sending people to a page that does not mention your keywords, it will drag down your landing page quality. If you're sending them to a page that has 20,000 words on it, it's probably going to be a little bit of a poorer quality page. So one of the key things here is if you are doing work on your website, or you're looking to hire a writer, or someone is just developing good, rich content for your website, that on its own is often a really, really important part of raising your landing page quality. So do think about that, and it kind of can help justify why you should go and get someone to be a writer and actually write some really good stuff on your website. It doesn't just help your organic search and make people stick to your website and complete all of your things that you want them to do. It does tangibly improve your quality score, which then improves your ads and reduces your costs. So that's a really important thing to do to work on that landing page. The keyword, so the ad text is also highly relevant. So if you just think back to what I said a minute ago about splitting your keywords into multiple ad groups, you can then have ads with each ad group that are highly relevant. And the final thing there is your historical AdWords account performance. And this is probably the hangover part. If you've had bad performance, it will take a while. It could be days, could be weeks, could be months, where you are dragging your performance up and you're being penalized for yesterday's bad performance and you're being penalized for last week's bad performance. But it gets better. So the better you are, the better you'll get. And I see that over time. You can get some beautiful improvements. And once you get over a sort of a critical tipping point, you'll find that everything suddenly gets easy. So let's have a look here. So I'm going to do some blatant promotion for my wife's photography business, Ruthie Stoppel's Photography. She has portrait photography here in Auckland. So I run the AdWords for her, obviously, because that's what I do. We've got an ad group here for actors' headshots, and it's a very specific one where if an actor wants headshots for their profile, Ruthie does those for them. So I've broken down the quality score components for some of the keywords that we're running. So as I said just a minute ago, AdWords kind of hides the quality score. When you go into your default AdWords keywords page, you won't see quality score. So if you go into the columns, click on the columns button, then modify columns, all of a sudden you'll see quality score and you'll be able to set up some columns there and actually understand whether Google likes you or hates you. So the first one is quality score itself. So that is a score out of 10, and if you just remember the chart I showed, the actual physical score that you have for each keyword is a fantastically strong lever for levering your performance. So just ignore the speech marks and the pluses at the moment, and we're just going to have a brief look at some of these options. So you can see here the maximum CPC for each of these is $1.10. That is the default. You notice that's grey, which means I haven't set a custom bid for each keyword, which I could do. So the way we work is the maximum CPC, which is $1.10 times the quality score. So I could choose to increase the maximum CPC bid for one of these, or I could choose to fix the quality score, and both of those are important things. So if I look at that and I go, my goodness, I've got terrible quality score for that particular keyword, I could choose to create new keywords, or I could pause some of those keywords that are there, or I could edit them. That may be one of the things that I could do, or I may say, no, I will leave those. I've got other jobs to do today. So looking at the column on ad relevance, if I look at that, out of those 5 keywords, the ads are deemed to be average to below average. So that tells me I probably do need to work on my ad copy, so I can go in and I can edit or pause or create a whole entirely new ads, and that may improve it. So if I just look at those 5 keywords there, you'll notice that the 2 that have below average performance, one of them includes the word professional and one includes the word Auckland. So that might actually be a bit of a clue to me that when people are searching for actors headshots Auckland, my ad doesn't say Auckland because I'm only targeting Auckland. I don't need to say the word Auckland. So that's a clue that perhaps I could change some of my ads around to mention Auckland. Otherwise people may think that we operate out of Wellington. Excuse me. The next thing that I'd look at is the landing page exp, and that stands for experience. So that is where Google will look at our website and say, does this website represent a good topic for these people? So again, for a few of these, we're scoring below average, which is a little bit of a concern. So what do I want to do there? Do I want to go and edit my website? Now, it's my wife's website, and being a photographer, it's a highly visual website. It is rich with imagery. It is light on text. And I keep on saying, I would love to put some words on your pages. And she tells me, absolutely not. Over my dead body will you touch my website. I like my website to be a visual thing rather than a text thing. So we have a lovely little debate over that. But from a purely AdWords point of view, I would get better performance if I were able to convince her to add more words to her page that talk about actors' headshots in Auckland, whereas she just has pictures of actors and showing their profile shots. So that's one option. Now, you may be in the same situation. You may not be able to touch your website, or it may be too hard, too expensive. It may cost you a fortune. You have to go back to your developers if you want to change one word on a page. you may have the ability to create new pages and create new content. In that case, go for it. If you can see that your landing page is letting you down, then you could change that. So one thing you might also do is just look to change the landing page. You might be sending all your ads to the home page, and you may find that sending them to a specific page deep in your site, which is more related to that ad group, may actually improve your performance in a matter of days. Okay, the third column over here is expected click-through rate, and you see that from here we are average to above average. So that is showing me that we actually have our bids about right. So it's a combination. Am I bidding right? Are my ads right? Are my keywords right? Is my landing page right? So this actually will break it down and give you a pretty good idea. And again, as I say, you may not have the ability to change things. If you do have the ability to change things, then good luck. Go for it. You will get really good rewards. So I'm just going to very quickly flick back to, the next slide. If you just remember this, so look at the quality score and the amount you pay. So improving your quality score does have a very, very good effect on the amount you pay. So taking that time out to go and hire a copywriter to improve the copy on your pages could be for advertiser too. The difference between quality score of 4 and the quality score of 6, which would therefore improve their ad rank, reduce their costs, they get better placement, they get more traffic. So go for it. I'll just flip forward now through to where we need to be. Okay, now staying with Ruthie Stoffels Photography.co.nz. Sorry for the sales pitch. This is a little bit of a dive into the way that we've structured the AdWords for this account. So you need to structure AdWords around what you do and what the people who come to your website need to do. So for Ruthie, we've structured it around 6 campaigns, and the one down at the bottom you'll see is grayed out. So that one is paused, mostly because it was very expensive, it was very competitive, and we felt that it was better to use budget elsewhere. So 4 out of those 5 campaigns probably make a great deal of sense. So we have family as the top one. So that's targeting newborn photography, baby photography, pregnancy photography, family portraits. So we've got all that grouped into one kind of a topic. Next, business shots, actors, models, Rarotonga and weddings. So if you think about a photographer, those are 4 out of 5 of those are fairly logical for what a photographer would do. Ruthie does not do any landscape photography, and she doesn't do product photography, she doesn't do fashion shoots, she does not do sports photography. So we don't target those areas, and I actually specifically ensure that we don't waste any money advertising someone who wants a fashion photographer. That's just not her little niche. So we've got our business campaign running in there, and that has very specific ads for people wanting business headshots. So not stock photography for a plumber's catalogue or plumbing products catalogue, but it's law firms, accounting firms, etc., who want profile photography for their staff. So we've set that up so it has its own budget, has its own ads. Now the people searching for an ad for business profile photography obviously aren't going to respond to an ad that talks about newborn photography. So don't try and cram everything into a small number of campaigns. So lots of campaigns, and then split each campaign into relevant ad groups. So if you're wondering why Rarotonga is in there, we love Rarotonga and we would love to go there for a holiday. And Ruthie said, why don't you see if you can advertise to Kiwis who want to get married in Rarotonga, and we'll go up there and I'll do their wedding photography and makeup and hair for them. So unfortunately we haven't had any bookings for weddings in Rarotonga, but we live in hope that that will pay for our next holiday. So by structuring this also, you can turn things up and down. So you'll see in there, if you look at the budget column, the second column, we have shared $2.50, $2.50. The Actors Models has $2. So what it is I use a shared budget with $2.50 a day in it. And so that means the 4 campaigns that use the shared budget each fight each other for $2.50 a day. And the Actors Models has its own private budget of $2 a day. So it just means I can turn things up and down. And interestingly, the other day my wife said to me that she's been getting too many people wanting family reunions, which isn't really her thing. So she finds that often those people will talk to her for half an hour and then not book, or she just finds that they would rather have someone taking photos with an iPhone rather than a professional photographer. So I need to change it so that the group of people who want a family reunion photographer are not really coming up. So we don't really want to target those people. We still want to target babies, newborns, etc. But it's an important part of how you structure your account so you can sculpt it to suit the ones that make you the most money. Now, obviously, weddings is going to be a highly desirable, highly attractive situation, but it's also highly competitive. So a couple of benchmarks that you really need to look at here. The click-through rate is, the benchmark is 5%. So you can see here we're averaging 4.77, which is okay, but a little bit low. Some of our campaigns were running at 10%, others running at 3%. So really the ones running at 3% are a bit low. Now what you'll actually find is once you get over 5%, life gets easier. If you're under 5%, you're constantly swimming against the current. And it's a very useful little benchmark there. A little while ago, I mentioned that you need to segment by network. Now, one of the things here is the TradeMe data will be coming in here. So if we look at the weddings campaign that has a click-through rate of 3.07, we may find that search is actually running at 10% click-through rate, which is really good. And TradeMe, so the search partners, is running at 1%. So that's why it's averaging at 3. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. So just have a quick look at that segment by network if you're running a TradeMe, and you may find that, okay, it says 3, but really we're running at 10 for Google search, and I'm happy with that. The average position of 2 to 3 is what I aim for. So you can see with weddings running at 4.4 and business running at 3.9, and even the family one, those are probably worse than I want to be. So I need to obviously improve the quality score and or bid more aggressively. The next thing you absolutely need to look at is your keywords. So managing the keywords, there are 5 types of keywords, and it really is like Goldilocks. You will find that you're too broad or you're too specific. So broad keywords are the default, and I find those are too broad. You'll end up with far too many unusual searches that are close but not close enough to what you want. Broad match modified is my favorite, and that is really what I build most of my ad groups and campaigns around. Just be aware that phrase and exact are not exactly what you think. Exact is in fact exact-ish. 20% of searches are unique. Google has never ever seen them before. And another 20% of searches have at least 1 typo in them. And I have seen a 6-word search that contained 5 typos. But Google was able to understand exactly what that person meant. So you cannot just rely on exact. Google will blend to allow for typos, even if you have an exact match. Same with phrase match. It will allow stems, so runner, running, runners. It will allow variations on those. Even if you have a very, very well organized set of keywords, you must have negative keywords. Those are probably there's one thing that you need to take away from today. It is to work on your negative keywords. So you need to be both proactive and reactive. So proactive, go and think of what is irrelevant but very similar. Google it, use a thesaurus, look at the synonyms of what you do. So you need to go in and put in your proactive keywords in the negative list, and also you need to look at what is coming up, and you'll be quite amazed by what comes up. when I was looking after Auckland Live, we found that the search term we were targeting, Auckland Live, was being matched to live chickens for sale in Auckland. I would not have expected that to come up. So once I saw that in there, I was able to obviously stop appealing to poultry fans. So I'll use an example here for Art Gallery Ponsonby. So if you are an art gallery in Ponsonby and you wish to target art gallery in Ponsonby, you could do it in many different ways. So the broad match being Art Gallery Ponsonby, broad match modified with a plus symbol. The plus symbol limits the synonyms and stems and variations. Phrase, it must have those 3 words, more or less, in that order, but it could have a word before or after. And exact, it must have those 3 words in that order with no extras before or after. So what would be an example? So let's say I was targeting the broad match Art Gallery Ponsonby. That could well come up when someone searches for kids' arts classes in Ponsonby, and that is a deliberate typo to show that Google will handle typos. So quite clearly, if I am a high-end art gallery in Ponsonby, I am not remotely interested in people wanting kids' arts classes. So be aware that is what people will search for if you use broad. I would get people searching for art galleries in Ponsonby, which is great. You notice the word in has been included, and also gallery has been matched to galleries. So it's a perfectly acceptable variation, and it's quite controlled. That is, again, the kind of target that I would want. Phrase has gone for modern art galleries, Ponsonby, and so you see there it's put a word before the 3 words, and it's allowed variation in those 3 words, but only a little bit. And an exact match will have some very slight variation on those 3 words in that order. So I will use a mix. I'll probably do 90% of my keywords are broad match modified, and then maybe 10% are phrase and 10% are exact. So that tends to give me the best performance, I find. But the negatives are absolutely essential for this. So for almost every client, I will put in job, jobs, career, careers, vacancy, vacancies, and often free as negatives. In this case, I would put class, classes, kids, course, tutor, and you may wonder why I would put in Lord, Cumbria, Waterloo as negative keywords. A quick search for Ponsonby will yield the information that Lord Ponsonby of Cumbria was killed in the Battle of Waterloo. So it's quite possible that if you are targeting Art Gallery Ponsonby, that there may be a little bit of your traffic that is going to be picked up by people wanting paintings of Lord Ponsonby who fought in Waterloo. So that's showing where I've perhaps been a bit proactive to say I'm going to get rid of the things that may just come up. They probably won't, but if they do, I don't want to waste a cent on people wanting pictures of Lord Ponsonby. Unless, of course, I sell a picture of Lord Ponsonby at my gallery. So you need to look at the search terms report, and that will show you what your ads are being matched to. That is absolutely essential. So when you have keywords, the keywords are what you bid on, and I'll just go back a slide. The keywords are what you bid on, and the search terms are what Google matches you to. So you need to understand those are different things, and it's absolutely essential that you choose the right keywords, and then you have a look at your search terms and go, oh my goodness. So with the negative keywords, I will use a single word. So, sorry, I have gone in the wrong direction here. I will use the negative keyword of class, just the one word. That means if anything is searching related to an art gallery in Ponsonby, but it has the word class in it, I don't want it today, I don't want it tomorrow, I don't ever want it. It's totally beyond the scope of what I'm after. So just use single match, a single word, negative keywords. Copywriting. So every ad group should have 3 ads running in it. then Google will be able to understand which one of those ads works better, and you can actually optimize. You can also learn what do people want. So what I will generally do is I always use one incredibly dry, incredibly boring, incredibly factual ad. Often you'll find that asking a question or solving a problem will work well. I quite often like confronting or humorous ones. And it's always a good idea to try putting the price in there. Often people are looking for the price, or if they understand. If you're offering something for $100 and they were expecting to pay $10, well, that's great. You've just qualified that person, and they're not going to click on your ad because you don't want to talk to that person if they are so far outside the scope of who you are and what you offer. But try a bunch of different ads. So I'm just going to show some that we've been running for the actors headshot photography. So headline 1, actors headshot photography. That's pretty dry, factual, and boring. Update your profile for $265. So we've used the price in there. Some people will be expecting to pay $1,000 for a headshot photography session. So wonderful. They love the fact that it's affordable for a starving artist. And we've got a fairly dry description there saying so what we do and what you'll get. So I think people know what you're getting pretty easily from that one. Okay, the second one is similar. We've got the same description, we've got the same headline 1, and I've just posted a question there, time to update your profile, because that's really why they are searching for us, is they need to update their profile for their agent. And then the third one in here, I just went a little bit, a bit of an ego stroking ad, just to say, character actors, stunt performers, and all you beautiful people. I've only just run that ad, so I don't know whether it works. It might work, it might be a dismal failure. But the great thing there is I can try it, and if I need to pause one of those ads because it's not working, great, I'll do so. So feel free to try some quite different styles. I will often do, I'll put an ad in there with a date, and then I can pause that on the appropriate stage. Now, I know from talking to Vicky that tracking via Google Analytics is something of a challenge for a lot of arts organisations. So every single one of my clients runs Google Analytics, even the ones with 10,000 employees. It's just a very simple, very powerful system. So the main reason that I recommend it is I optimize for conversions. I optimize for what happens after the click. So it's very, very easy for me to get visits to a website. I just put the money in and people click and go to the website. So what I'm doing is I'm optimizing for the best quality clicks, and I really can't tell unless I can see how many of those people bought or booked or did something that shows that they're a high quality visitor. So you really want to do it. So you need to link your AdWords to Google Analytics, and that just may require one of your geeks to help you out to do that. But more than that, you need to set up conversion tracking. So very briefly, let's dive into conversion tracking. Now, the ideal situation is that you have full e-commerce tracking if you are selling products or tickets online. You may have a booking form that doesn't actually require any money, but people are able to register for your conference or register their interest, etc. You may have subscriptions. You may have sign-ups to an email newsletter. Any one of those things is very tangible. So it is desirable, it is tangible. You can tell you had 800 people booked for your conference. That's wonderful. You can measure it. So those are the best situations, and that is what I would be doing if I possibly can. So it may require you to talk to your web developer. It may require your IT manager to do a little bit of work. So just be aware that setting that up can be a little bit awkward. It also, the other thing to note that you can now measure how well you're performing AdWords versus Facebook versus Instagram. You can also see how well your email newsletters are going. So it doesn't just help your AdWords performance, it's really important for all of your marketing channels. So assuming that you, let's say, are a gallery, so what people do is get in their car and drive to visit you. So they're not buying anything, they're not booking anything, they're not even picking up the phone. If you don't have the ability to do the e-commerce tracking, you need to create goals. So the goal could be that people have visited your location page or your subscriptions or your advice page. What is your most important page? So when people have visited that, you can create that as a goal, and we then import the goal into AdWords, and we can now say how many people from AdWords went through to this specific page. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that they did anything. They may not have got in their car. They may not have filled out a paper form, but it's a pretty good indicator that person is a good quality lead. The other thing that you can do, and I find really useful for a lot of sites, is you can create a goal based around people who viewed 5 or more or 6 or more pages on your website. So you just want that high-end cream. So again, for Ruthie, we did it people who visited 6 pages because she has a booking form, but she only gets one person filling it out a month, which is not enough to really sink our teeth into. So we measure how many people came and had a long, deep, rich visit to our website. And all of a sudden that becomes quite a valuable little tool. So if you don't have access to Google Analytics, or your web person is on holiday, or your web developers have gone AWOL, the better than nothing is to monitor the bounce rate. So you can actually see that campaign A had an 80% bounce rate, campaign B had a 20% bounce rate. And the bounce is when someone arrives on your website and then leaves from that page. So it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. They may have arrived on a page that told them the one piece of information that they wanted, so they leave very, very happy. But the chances are, if they came, visited just one page, they're not really going to engage. They're probably not going to go and do what you want them to do. So I do like bounce rate as a really democratic way of measuring the success of my campaigns, because I don't need to do any coding. I don't need to get access to Google Analytics. As long as I've got it connected to my AdWords, I can see that. So just to show you here, this is some conversion data from Ruthie's Google Analytics, from AdWords. So the data is brought from Analytics into AdWords. So we have the cost per conversion column, and you can just see that those 2 campaigns, and what those campaigns are called is not important, those are getting good quality leads at $2.50 or $2.30 each, so quite a lot cheaper than the other campaigns. The volume's pretty low, but those are good, cheap people who are visiting 6 or more pages. And you'll notice that the bounce rate over there is also very good. So it just shows that a good low bounce rate equals, it matches conversion. So if you can only measure the bounce rate, then in that case, that indicates those campaigns are better performers than the others in terms of getting people who are rich, deep, and engaged. So please go away and do some work on your conversion rates. Now, something that you may find you're missing out on, and sorry for the spaghetti of red all over this particular slide, ad extensions. Google has, I think, 8 different kinds of ad extensions, and it will show up to 4 ad extensions that supplement your ads. So that is what the bog standard ads look like for this particular search. So if we just go back, sorry, that is what it looks like when you have the extensions added. So there's a huge amount of supplementary information that is added here. So just running through from the top, we have the call extension, and you'd schedule that. So that number only appears from 9 to 5 on Monday to Friday, or whenever you happen to be in the office. So that's great. It just means people can ring you more easily. So this one here is called a call out extension, and what is interesting here, it's really talking about your features and benefits. So it's just adding that extra information that you need. So you'll notice there that Massey University talks about study sciences, study business, study health today. They've obviously got generic call out extensions that run for every ad they do. So what they really should do there is just get a bit more creative and have some creative call out extensions. So I'm not going to go into these others in too much detail. Other than down here, you can see the location extension. Now that is run by Google My Business, which powers Google Maps. So I would go away and have a look at your location information, and because that is obviously very important for Google Maps, and it can therefore be pulled into AdWords, and it is really useful for people on mobiles. And as you can see there, it's showing the times and dates, which is really useful for people who perhaps have an art gallery. So Google chooses which of those extensions it's going to show, and so really you just need to go and put as many of those onto your site as you can. And again, that is what a standard ad looks like if you don't have ad extensions running. So they are incredibly important elements. So I would, you can make them a generic set that run for your entire account, but if you go back to a few slides ago where I was talking about structuring your account, I would also be structuring my ad extensions. So for Massey University on the top ad here, I would really recommend that they make a call-out extension that is for the creative faculty. So don't talk about science or business, etc. Talk about galleries, talk about studios, talk about field trips, talk about some of the other benefits of studying creative at Massey. What this one here is called the structured snippet extension, and it's talking about degree programs. So that's actually a reasonably good set for this thing. It's showing structured snippets specifically for arts. So that's one that they have customized. The site link extensions here, they're rather generic. Colleges does not inspire me to click. Campuses doesn't really inspire me, doesn't tell me anything much. None of these particularly work. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're not that inspiring. So what I tend to do is use these to show the secondary things that are related to studying art courses at Massey. So I would perhaps have one that talks about Massey's art gallery or the internship programs for artists, or it just says something that just helps fill in the wider picture. So for an art gallery, you may have one that links to current exhibitions. You may have one that links to artist in residence program. It's a bit more kind of inspiring and shows where you fit in the ecosystem. So as I was mentioning before, please go away and spend a little bit of time working on your ad extensions and just think about how can you make, fill in the color. You've got a really limited number of characters for all of your ad copy. So this is where you really start to get into adding the color to AdWords. So I'm just going to very quickly just check the questions we have here. And Sue, thank you for answering questions. Okay, so the site extensions, it's actually part of the main AdWords interface. So what you when you log into AdWords, you'll see campaigns, ad groups, ads, keywords, extensions. So go and click on that, and then you create an extension. So it's all done via the AdWords interface. So you could literally go away and start making them in 2 minutes. You don't need to talk to the developers or go into the back end. So it's all words that you write. The only one that's a little bit weird is the location extension, where you link Google My Business to Google AdWords, and that therefore pulls in the information that Google knows on your map, and it ties it into the whole map ecosystem, annual closing times, and all the other data that's in Google My Business. The other question you asked, Sue, was learning a little bit more about the difference between search and display campaigns. Yeah, so that's many hours to discuss the nuances of that. Hopefully, a little more of that was covered during the rest of the presentation. But Sue, if you'd like to contact me afterwards, I'd be more than happy to answer any specific questions you have. So that pretty much is a 1-hour crash course on Google AdWords and online advertising. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to contact me. There's my address, houdini.co.nz, and a few other useful tools there, including connector.co.nz. That's a digital marketing matchmaker. I'm a member of Connector, but if you want a Facebook advertising guru, or you just need someone to delve into some really deep, rich analytics, or you want someone to help with your online strategy, Connector is a really good place to start. They will be able to help put you in touch with some professionals. So thank you all very, very much. I will hand you back over to Vicky now. And as I say, if anyone has any questions, please contact me afterwards. Thank you.
Tom, thank you. That was incredible. Thank you for an hour of, to quote you, mind-altering discoveries. I do admit that I laughed out loud a few times. This session has been rich with tips and real-life examples, and I think most importantly, reassurances. So whether we want to manage search engine marketing in-house or outsource it to a specialist, I think this information has been invaluable to empower us. So we really appreciate you being here today, and we really appreciate all of those who've joined us today. Please pass on the news that this has been recorded and will be available after the session. I think it's really, really important for as many of us as possible to see this information. And just to reiterate, if you have any questions you'd like to ask Tom, you can go straight to him or to Grace at grace.sinclair@creativenz.gov.nz. So the third masterclass webinar in this series will be on Wednesday, 6th of June, and more information on this will be available soon. So we really look forward to seeing you then. And everyone, have a great day at your arts marketing and online marketing desk. Thank you.